white paper.
I get it.
I get it.
All right, here we go. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Austin County Board of Commissioners voting session. Today's Thursday, August 15th, 2019. We do appreciate your attendance. Start out with a roll call.
Missing one.
Somebody have another. Who's not green?
There we go.
All right. Now you can see we're all here. Tonight's opening presentation is Tree City USA recognition and Extension Office update, Extension Coordinator Clark McAllister. Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Just want to take a brief moment and sort of make it known that the county was actually, we're actually able to qualify for Tree City USA, which is actually a designation under the Arbor Day Foundation. And what this is, it's sort of, you're all familiar with when we do the Arbor Day proclamation. That's one step in that. So basically, this is a program where municipalities can get recognition for all the good work we're doing with trees in all facets of that. So in order to get this, you have to have a tree board, which we have. You've got to have a tree ordinance, which we have. You've got to spend at least $2 per capita on tree work, which storm usually blows through. We usually got that every year, unfortunately. And you also have to have an Arbor Day proclamation and observance. So we qualify for that, so we were able to get that recognition. Unfortunately, it's called Tree City, and we've got a little bit of a rub there with the Arbor Day Foundation. I've reached out to them, Laura Fulcher's reached out to them to try to see if there's any wiggle room or not to call it Tree City. You know, I don't really have that much of an issue with it, but we're trying to get recognition for the county. And it'd be nice if it was called something like Tree Municipality USA. It's not, they're not very flexible with it. So maybe that's something we want to decide if we even go for it in the future. But certainly it's something that I want to bring recognition to this county and all the good work we do. And I believe we got some, letter from a representative as well. So
We did.
So yeah, just wanted to bring attention to that. And we're just going to keep up the good work we're doing and try to spread the good word about what trees are doing here in the county.
Thank you for all that you're doing. And I know you're working hard with our tree committee and stuff like that, because I've had the pleasure to be in a couple of those meetings, as well as Ms. Sharon. And so we know what you're doing, and we know you're working on even better improvements to that ordinance that we have.
Absolutely.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Carl.
At this time, I'd ask everyone to stand for brief invocation and the pledge. Let's pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for this another wonderful day. We thank you for the blessings of life, and we ask that you would give us knowledge and wisdom to carry out the business of this great county. Anything that's accomplished, we'll give you the honor and glory. In Christ's name, we do ask and pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Announcements. Do we have any announcements? Okay. Next, we'll move on to the approval of minutes. First up, we have the minutes of the work session held on August 1st, 2019. Any additions or deletions? Motions.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved. Next up, we have the minutes of the voting session held on August 1st, 2019. Any additions or deletions? Motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Satterfield. Seconded by Commissioner Nix. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved. Next up, we have the approval of the agenda. I don't have any changes to the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Nix.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved. No public comment signed up at this time. We'll move on to zonings. First up, we have ZA 1908, Michael Reuter requests the rezoning of tax map parcel 095047 from RA residential agriculture to RSR residential sub-rural. Here are the rules that we will go by in reference to zoning. The planning director will present the application and recommendation of the planning commission. Then we will hear from the applicant. Then I will open the hearing. Anyone here to speak in favor of the application, and then anyone here that's opposed to the application. We give 3 minutes per speaker. Anyone who speaks will need to sign in and give us your name and address. And if you have donated $250 or more to any candidate, you will need to fill out a form stating so, which I have here. So if you've donated any more than $250 to any candidate, you will need to fill out this form. All right, James.
Thank you, Chairman. As you already stated, Mr. and Mrs. Reuter right here is looking to rezone the property from RA to RSR. Upon our analysis in the planning department, all the surrounding parcels in this area are already RSR, if not RSR manufactured move, which allows for mobile homes. The property is located on Norma Road and is a little over 11 acres in size. Mr. Reuter is looking to, in his letter of intent, he said he is looking to subdivide the property. And during our planning commission, Mrs. Reuter spoke, and she said that they're looking to, they were doing estate planning, and they were looking to just bring the property in line with the surrounding parcels. Either way, it fits our land use or inside of our land use resolution. It calls for our future land use map, and it calls that out also as residential sub-rural, RSR. That completed our analysis of the planning's analysis, and upon the recommendations of the other entities in the county, there were mainly no comments provided, and which is common for this type of development, which means that there's nothing needed from them at this time.
And the planning commission recommended approval,
Yes, sir.
and as you said, it meets the future land use map.
It does.
Okay. Any questions for Jameson?
You said development, go ahead, go ahead.
How many lots? Or how are they gonna subdivide?
That is not known at this time. I do not have anything and that might be a better question for the applicant, but an acre and a half is the minimum to subdivide in that area because there's no water or sewer. So if you look at it, the topology you would run into a topology problem if you look at the topo map of subdividing the property. There's quite a bit of terrain. I would imagine that the maximum of 5 to 6 homes you would be able to subdivide it.
Other questions for Jameson?
That's what I was wondering, what kind of, you mentioned development. So what does RSR allow?
Just single family homes. There's no development of any type of, and maybe I misspoke a little when I said development.
Okay.
Just single family homes is the only thing that's allowed in RSR.
The only thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Other questions for Jameson? Thanks, sir. We may have some more later. Is the applicant present? Come on up and tell us what you'd like to do.
Chairman, Commissioners, my name is Michael Boyer. My wife, Lorna, and I live at 244 Norma Road, and we have for 20 years. We have a beautiful home there, and we don't plan to move or to create a development and all that that term entails. What we're trying to do is to consolidate, per the advice of our financial advisors, to consolidate some of our assets and to either eliminate or reduce some of our financial obligations. And so that's the reason for this at our stage in life. James has already covered the fact that all 8 of the adjacent properties are zoned either RSR or RSR MM. And So, you know, we're respectfully just asking for the same property rights that all of our neighbors have. I think that that's reasonable and fair. I hope you agree with me, and per the unanimous recommendation of the Planning Commission, vote to bring our property into compliance with county flood. I don't really, I can't tell you exactly what we're going to do with this. The long-term plan is to sell a lot or several lots eventually. I've had a preliminary conversation with a surveyor. Because of the topographical restrictions and the road frontage restrictions that are in place now. It's my understanding that we could never have more than 4, given what we want, because we want to keep our property in 6 acres, 6+ acres. You know, you're talking probably an additional 3, and for anybody that's concerned about development with the current RA designation, we could do 3. So it's 1 more than we could do now. It's just that probably several of those might be an acre and a half, considering the neighborhood and property values and so on and so forth. Maybe not, maybe 2 to 3 acre tracts, but then again, we might subdivide one of those into a slightly smaller tract. I would also like to point out that because of my home, I have no intention of allowing anybody to build anything. I mean, deed restrictions would be in place. There would be minimum square footage and it'd be stick built on. So, thank you.
Got any questions for the applicant? Questions for the applicant? Okay. At this time, I will open this hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Okay. Anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Seeing none, I'll close that hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Can I ask him a question?
You can.
The surrounding property owners, how much land do they own?
They own anywhere from probably about 1.5 acres up to, I think, about 6.5. With the exception of Ben Overstreet.
That's why I started saying
And
he's
he's got one
1,000.
great big piece that,
Yeah, about
that is across Thompson Road and comes up into this area, but that's also RSR. I mean, I include, there's one property, other than that strip that runs from the Lumpkin County line, basically follows the Etowah River all the way down into Dawson Forest. Almost everything from north of the city limits down to there is RSR currently. You don't run into any other agricultural zoned properties until you get to Ben's farm, with the exception of one guy that lives down at the end of the roads where Cat Farm used to be years ago.
A cat farm?
Well, the guy, they raise tigers and lions down there.
I remember that.
Big cats, not little cats.
But they close that up and it's something else. It's just residential property there.
Well, I mean, nobody has spoken in opposition, but have your neighbors said anything to you about this?
I haven't had anybody say anything to me personally. I had one gentleman call me on the phone and asked me, he left me a voicemail message and said that he had concerns, and I called him back, but I never could figure out what his concerns were. He just seemed really just more interested in knowing what I was up to, what I might be planning to do, and so on and so forth.
Well, if you've been there 20 years and you're going to keep 6 acres, I wouldn't see you want to do something that would adversely affect you.
No,
You
well,
said you had a nice home and,
yes, ma'am. Well, that's sort of how I look at it. I mean, common sense would suggest that whether I want to stay there. As I said, we're happy there. We like the 6 acres and the way the land lays. I built a pond behind my house, and so we intend to keep and subdivide basically on the front of the property. The 6 acres in that direction. Anything behind us, I wouldn't want to be able to see anything or anybody. I like just what I've got, peace and quiet and all of that stuff. But I certainly couldn't imagine doing anything that would be detrimental to my own property, which I think would happen before it was detrimental to anybody else's.
how many acres is your pond?
It's about three-quarters, between three-quarters and an acre. So,
Why don't you raise tigers and, why don't you go back into that
I'm a
business?
dog person.
Well, me too, but
I'm
I
not
mean,
a
they're
cat
all
person,
four
I'm a dog
legged.
person.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Nix,
Second.
second by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we have ZA 1909, Dan Muller on behalf of BTD requesting rezoning of tax map parcel 106336-001 from RA Residential Agriculture to CIR Commercial Industrial Restricted. James.
Thank you, Chairman. As you stated, ZA 1909, this property is, the neighboring property is already owned and operated by BTD. And they are one of the larger businesses and industrial businesses in the county. And I know that if you were here or listened to the minutes from the Planning Commission, you heard that there was a lot of support for this expansion of BTD and the value that it brings to our county. Upon the planning analysis, in our future land use map, it already calls for this to be an area of commercial industrial. They even went as far as to do a traffic study that was taken into consideration. There's already water and sewer out there, and it is appropriate for a development of this type. And like I said, the future land use map calls for it to be this, and it had this complete support of our planning commission and their recommendation.
Questions for James?
What were the results of the traffic study?
Just that there would be
More
required-
traffic?
Obviously, there'd be more traffic. Because of the nature of their business, they require to have large trucks coming in and out. So the traffic study pointed out that there would need to be turn lanes and possibly other things that I believe they are willing to consider and accommodate.
At what point do we get into the discussion of Lumpkin Campground Road and what the long-term plan is for Lumpkin Campground and how that particular parcel works into what happens with Lumpkin Campground?
Well, upon the recommendation of our Public Works Department, they're requesting to have 10 feet of additional right-of-way along Lumpkin Campground in the frontage for future road expansion. But further outside of that, I would defer to our Public Works Director.
Where is it?
Sorry, I
He's
thought
not here right
that
now.
was all, my apologies.
That's all.
There has been conversation, and they will be, as you know, we mentioned before that we're looking at the iron corridor from 400 to the Forsyth County line, and so there'll be discussions. I believe that's the recommendation of Mr. McKee, was to get that additional 10 foot in order to accommodate that widening.
And we can ask the applicant if they've accepted that additional 10 feet.
Other questions for James?
How many acres? I'm
I
looking
believe it was 33.5.
33 plus.
Other questions?
Was there any stipulations?
No,
With the plan board?
Other questions?
Yeah, when they do this, I guess they'll probably clear cut it. Well, anyway, will they fall under this 400 overlay
They do.
about having to plant trees and?
It falls in the 400 guidelines.
It does fall within the 400 corridor guidelines. If you look at their site plan, we would always recommend them leaving as many trees as possible. And then one of the reasons why we didn't make additional recommendations and stipulations for this property is that in the commercial industrial, we already have several stipulations laid out that because they butt residential properties, we require that undisturbed buffer there for those neighboring residential properties. But we'd always
we've always asked if they need as many trees as possible, and you can certainly ask the applicant of that.
They do have to abide by the tree guidelines. and everything.
Absolutely.
Order guidelines and tree ordinance anyway.
I wish ours was updated. You know, getting to the canopies
We're
instead
trying.
of these little,
We're trying.
you know, these little narrow ones. I mean, it's just the same as nothing really. It's just, they're just trying to get by and say, well, I planted a tree, but anyway. We don't have that in place now, but I wish we did.
Other questions for James? Thanks, sir. We may have some more later. Is the applicant present? Come on up. Tell us what you want to do.
Chairman, Commissioners, thank you very much. My name is Brian West. I'm with Kinley Horn and Associates, the civil engineers for the project. The project you have in front of you, it is a code compliant rezone. It is in keeping with the adopted future land use map and comprehensive plan. It is in keeping with the uses both north and south of this property. The property immediately to the south is an existing property owned by BTD, an existing operating facility. This is a big investment for BTD, and really BTD would be using this facility to consolidate operations from around the county and surrounding counties. One of the facilities that they'd be looking to bring under this roof is about 45 minutes away. So what this really does is provide quality jobs for the people in this county that live in this county instead of having to drive out of the county for those jobs. If there's any questions regarding the development itself, I'd be happy to answer any questions. The traffic study was conducted. It showed that right turn lanes would be necessary into the development. So that's certainly something that would be part of the construction documents when time is ready for those. As far as the set aside for the additional 10 feet of right of way, that's not something that would impact the site plan that was submitted as part of the rezone package. So.
How many additional jobs? Do you know that?
The facility itself is going to have about 250 employees in the first phase of the project, which is the first 180,000 square feet of the building, and then an additional 400 to 500 jobs at full build out.
Other questions of the applicant? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'll open this hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Anyone here to speak in favor? Come on up, sir, and give us your name and address and fill out the pad right there for us. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for giving me the time to speak tonight. My name is Bill Winter, and I live at 119 Kylo Ridge Drive with my wife. We've lived there for the last 15 years, and I'd like to speak in favor of this rezoning request. This is a significant opportunity for Dawson County with the number of jobs that we're looking to add and keep residents working in Dawson County. As the applicant mentioned, there's an initial phase of 240 jobs, another 400 to 500 after that. So I think this is a tremendous opportunity for us to grow our job space, especially in clean manufacturing, and it works with the land use plan as well as the surrounding areas. Also, BTD is looking to consolidate all of their operations, and that's going to be done somewhere at some point in time. And I think we as Dawson County residents would prefer that would be in our county. It makes sense from a lot of areas. It can be good paying jobs, and it's something that we really need to expand our job base in Dawson County with being so retail centric, that these are good paying jobs, these are jobs with benefits. I just want to speak in favor of this rezoning request, and thank you very much for considering it and giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, sir.
Can we go back to this?
Just a minute.
Mr.
We will.
Williams? Okay.
We will. Let's go through the process
Okay.
first. Anyone else here to speak in favor of the application?
Good evening, thank you for letting me be here, Commissioners. I won't belabor the points that have already been made.
Tell us who you are so they'll know.
No, yeah, that's true. One thing I will say is that we have been in conversation.
Tell us who you are.
Oh, sorry. Christy Moore, I'm the president of the chamber here and also live in the city.
I know, but they don't.
That's true, sorry. I feel like I live in this building sometimes, so. I did just want to mention that in the conversations that we've had over the past 2 years, we've discussed a lot about the growing concern of only relying on a retail sector, both for employment of our citizens, but also for our local economy. And so this is really what we've talked about, expanding our manufacturing jobs, particularly ones that, most people don't even know what goes on inside the building. They've been here for years, it doesn't smell, they're not really loud, they're one of the best partners really that you could ask for in your community. And I know with their expansion, even just being able to bring those jobs back that are currently in Buford is very exciting for us. And I know I shared with y'all on behalf of BTD earlier last week a presentation on their behalf. But what's great to see is how this investment in Georgia hopefully will keep them here. Y'all know it's becoming very competitive in the economic development climate, and we're seeing, and we honestly may be beneficiaries of that at some point, but different communities kind of poaching manufacturers from other communities. And when you see a manufacturer really investing in your community, that's a good sign that they'll be here for a longer time than possibly leaving. We all know Premier Surplus is here now, but we know how long the Nordson building sat there, and so we don't want that to happen again. And so we just appreciate your consideration for all the things we've shared, but that others have shared as well.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak in favor of the application? Anyone else to speak in favor of the application? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Seeing none, I'll close that hearing. Ms. Sharon, you had a question of the applicant?
Yes, what would be the average pay of the jobs? Don't know.
As the civil engineer, I don't know, I can't really speak on behalf, so.
I would assume.
Well, we just make up something.
Right.
You know,
I don't want to be held to it, I'm not coming on my paycheck.
So nobody knows then.
Your trend for a light industrial product like they have now is obviously higher than what retail base is. So I think it would be an elevation in our overall net averages for base.
I think Mr. Christie may know that.
I just know the average for them right now is $22 an hour. Which is about
Average.
And
$12 higher than
insurance, Christie.
Yeah.
I believe so.
And they have been.
I could just speak to the $22 an hour. That came from their culture.
That's correct. It's a full benefits package, health, all of that. So.
Under the premise of the consolidation, that takes less vehicles off the road, moving back and forth between various plants and things like that. So essentially there could be some pollution savings and things like that, which I know is, something that's near and dear to Sharon's
Yes.
heart, that we would have less vehicles moving back and forth up and down our roads, going to those other plants too. So we could see some less traffic than we might see already, actually.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion to approve the zoning as requested with the stipulation of allowing the 10-foot additional right-of-way on Lumpkin Campground that's been requested.
Okay, motion by
Second.
Commissioner Gaines, seconded by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. We'll move into new business. First up, we have consideration to move forward with the public hearing for proposed fire prevention protection ordinance. Chief Thompson brought that to us a couple weeks ago, and we're ready to move that to a public hearing if that is the desire of the board. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to public hearing.
Motion by Commissioner Satterfield,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved. Next up, we have consideration of State Route 136, the Toto Creek Bridge replacement detour request. David brought that to us at the last meeting, I think it was his consensus and DOT's that the detour that they were requesting was the most efficient way of their being. You got anything to add to that, Dave?
No, sir, Mr. Young's here, has been working on that project.
Okay.
If he has anything to
Y'all got
add to
any?
that, but there wasn't anything.
Okay.
So we're going, excuse me.
Come on up.
Can you tell the route again, just so the public or anybody here? If I was concerned about cutting through subdivisions and stuff.
Just,
What was the question?
The route.
The
Just
route.
go
They
the
would
route,
actually
yeah.
use where if you're coming down from Gainesville, they would actually use Henry Grady Highway. They're gonna use all state routes, and that's what they're wanting to do is keep, it's referred to as an off-system route. That way they're wanting to keep everyone on state routes. They would use Henry Grady Highway, put them on 400, and detour them back around on 136.
And do plenty of signs.
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay.
I think one of
They
the
understand.
One of the concerns that have been brought up was the cut through with Chestatee,
Yeah.
and I think my request would be that we monitor that traffic flow through Chestatee, and if needed, we put in potentially speed tables or something to mitigate some of that if that ever became a big issue. I don't think it will, but, or temporary speed humps or something.
That'd be permanent, temporary.
Do what?
That's what I was gonna ask, is, are you referring to?
Temporary.
Okay, temporary.
Yeah, that's what I said, temporary.
I believe some people will cut through there.
Well, I mean, it's, they're gonna be following their waves or whatever, their GPS, and it might, if the signs are, they, hopefully they follow signs.
I would say you have some people cut through there now,
Oh, yeah.
so that may not change a whole lot.
Yeah.
Anybody got any more questions for Brian? Motion.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Nix, second by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. That's approved 4-0. Next up, we have consideration of updated transit, drug, and alcohol testing policies. Dawn brought that to us at the last meeting. This is a standard thing that's required for our transit drivers by the state. It's also tied to the money. So, any other information needed? Motions?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett,
Second.
second by Commissioner Satterfield. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. That's approved, 4-0. Next up, we have consideration of Title VI Plan for Transit. Dawn brought that up as well. It's also part of the state plan. Any other information needed? Motions.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Gaines,
Second.
second by Commissioner Nix. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we have consideration of board appointments. First up, we have Danny Thompson replacing Lanier Swafford, term August 2019 through December 2020. As I stated last time, Lanier has been appointed as the Region 2 EMS advisor, working for the state now, which means he can no longer represent the county in that position. My recommendation to you is our chief, Danny Thompson, for that position. And I would also recommend to the board that we send Lanier a letter thanking him for his many years of service. Any other information needed? Motion
Motion to approve.
with the letter recommendation?
Well, yeah, with the letter.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Satterfield,
Second.
second by Commissioner Nix. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0.
Excuse me for interrupting. May I ask for clarification? Is that letter to come from you, the chairman, or is it to come from me, or how do you want that to proceed?
It's from the board.
Okay.
I'll sign it on behalf of the board, but yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next up, we have Georgia Mountains Regional Commission appointment. David has served us well in that capacity for many years. It's a joint appointment between the city and the county. City voted, and they made the recommendation of Miss Betsy McGriff. And in conversation with David, David obviously is going to continue to go to this and can be my representative appointment, because I am appointed by the state. And so, and he's fine with whatever the board desires to do here. So the recommendation that came from the city after their council vote was for Miss Betsy McGriff, who's our economic development director. And I think she would do a good job as well. So you have the two there, but we will need to be in line with the city at some point in time to make this appointment, because it has to be a joint appointment. So what is the pleasure of the board?
I'd make a motion to approve Betsy McGriff as our Georgia Mountain Regional Commission appointment.
Motion by Commissioner Gaines,
I'll second that, and my reasoning behind this is not to down anybody or whatnot, but you know, and Dave said he's going anyway, and he's had the opportunity to serve, so I think it's good for a city, you know, to have an appointment. So that's my reasoning behind it. So I second.
so we have a motion and a second. Second was by Ms. Fawcett. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved. No one signed up in public comment. We are adjourned. Thank you for your attendance.